Today we are learning how to conjugate the verb ir to be able to talk about the places that I may go to, you may go to, or somebody else goes to. I am teacher Catalina and I teach Spanish. If you're looking for a place to learn Spanish or improve your Spanish, you are at the right place. I would like to invite you to click that subscribe button so that you and I can continue learning Spanish together. To my loyal viewers, thank you so much. It is because of you that you allow me to bring these lessons to everybody. By the way, guys, if at any point you feel like smashing that like button, please remember that it really helps my channel. Also, if you want to look for this handout and a lot of other free resources, go to teachercatalina.com. With that out of the way, we are going places today. Where? I don't know. I'm sure we can figure that out by the end of the lesson. But what I do know is that we're learning how to conjugate the verb ir, which means to go. Ir means to go. So now that we have our chart up with the subject pronouns, we can go ahead and start talking about how to conjugate the verb ir. The first thing that I have to tell you is that ir is an irregular. So very important that you understand that this is not an IR verb. This is a verb on its own and it is completely irregular. So it's not going to follow the pattern. So let's start with the yo form. If I want to say I go. If I want to say I go, I would say yo voy. Yo voy. See how we went from ir to voy? That's what makes it an irregular. Tú vas. Tú vas. You go. Now, if we're talking about a he, a she, or a you formal, so él, ella, and usted, we're going to say va. Va. So él va, ella va, usted va. Nosotros vamos. We go. Nosotros vamos. Vosotros, in Spain, vais. Vosotros vais. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes van. Ellos, ellas, and ustedes van. And just like that, we have all of the conjugations of the verb ir. Although it is an irregular because we went from ir to voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, and van. If you kind of look at this, there's a bit of a pattern within it. So that may help you remember them. If you have not yet learned and memorized the subject pronouns, I want to encourage you to go ahead and do so. And if you need that extra lesson, that lesson is right here. If you know your subject pronouns by heart, all you would have to do right now is to memorize the conjugations. And you would know what conjugation goes with what subject pronoun. So you would say, or you would memorize, voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, and van, and you would know exactly who is going where. So now that we know the conjugations of the verb ir, there's a little something that we have to learn before we can move into full-blown examples. So the first thing that I want to make sure that you do is look at this little expression here. It's ir a plus a place. Ir a plus a place. We go to. Ir a. To go to. So make sure that you don't forget to include that a when you're talking about you or other people going somewhere. So with that out of the way, let's look at an example. Let's say that I want to say, I go to the school. I go to the school. That's la escuela. La escuela. So here's my little expression here. Ir a plus a place. So I'm going to conjugate the ir part, and then I'm going to leave the rest alone. So let's see how that looks. Yo voy a la escuela. Yo voy a la escuela. Did you see how we followed that little formula, that expression? That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Let's look at another example. Here's our little formula, our little expression. And instead of school, la escuela, we are going to go to math class, to the math class. So that's la clase de matemáticas. La clase de matemáticas. So we're going to go ahead and follow that little formula. Again, the ir part gets conjugated. So again, it's me still going somewhere. So I'm going to say, yo voy a la clase de matemáticas. Yo voy a la clase de matemáticas. We still follow that formula. Let's change things up a little bit. Instead of I go somewhere, let's say they go somewhere. Let's use that math math class again. La clase de matemáticas. So we're going to say they go to the math class. They go to math class. So the way that we do it, we still use our formula, but now we're going to use the correct conjugation of ir. So we're going to say, ellos van a la clase de matemáticas. Ellos van a la clase de matemáticas. Again, notice our little formula, ir a plus a place. And please remember, the ir gets conjugated. That way we know who goes somewhere. Now, I need your undivided attention. I need you to look at this. So far, we've gone to la escuela and la clase de matemáticas. If you look at those two nouns, would you agree that they are both feminine nouns? La escuela and la clase de matemáticas. Yes, you are correct. They are both feminine nouns. That is important. Now, if you need to review a little bit more about this gender, adjective, and noun agreement, look for this lesson so that you can review that. Now, going back to this, it is important that you remember because if we go to a place and that noun is masculine, things change a little bit. So instead of going to la clase de matemáticas or la escuela, now we are going to go to el supermercado. El supermercado. That's the supermarket. El supermercado is a masculine noun. So we got to do a little something. Let me show you. Our little formula says ir a plus the place. And the place generally has that definite article, la or el. Here's the thing. If you run into an a plus an el together, you have to contract that. And you have to make it al. I know you may not be following quite yet, but let me show you how this works. If I say, voy a el supermercado, that's wrong. We have to make sure that that a and that el get contracted, and we would say, voy al supermercado. Voy al supermercado. So, the thing to remember is that anytime that you run into an a and an el, and pay attention, that's an el without an accent. It makes a difference. So an a and an el together, they equal al. A plus el equals al. Let's look at a couple more examples. So let's look at this noun. El entrenamiento. El entrenamiento. That's like a training, a sports training. So I want to say, I go to the training. Now, I will start something like this. Voy a el entrenamiento. A el. I better contract that. So I'm going to say, voy al entrenamiento. Voy al entrenamiento. Again, this only happens when the noun is a masculine noun. We didn't have to worry about this when we talked about la escuela or la clase de matemáticas because there was no el. El only happens with masculine nouns, like el supermercado or el entrenamiento. You'll get used to it. Just remember, a plus el equals al. Let's look at a few more examples, just in general. So we have, Pepe va a la casa. Pepe va a la casa. Remember, Pepe is a he, so we have to use the he-she conjugation, va. Now, Ana va a la clase de historia. Ana va a la clase de historia. Same concept, he and she. Let's look at this noun. El cine. El cine. That's the movie theater. And we want to say, we go to the movie theater. How do we do that? Good. I am glad that you immediately realized that el cine is a masculine noun. Therefore, we have to contract a plus el into al. So we will say, nosotros vamos al cine. Nosotros vamos al cine. And that's it, guys. Now you should be able to talk about where you or other people go. Now remember, you're going to use ir a plus the place that you go to. But remember, if that place that you're going to is a masculine noun, Make sure that you do a plus el equals I, and you'll be all good. By the way, if you want to learn how to use ir a with infinitives to talk about what you are going to do, go ahead and look at this lesson. You did fantastic. Don't forget to continue reviewing, practicing, speaking, writing, and it will all come to you at the right time. Thank you so much for joining me for class today. Don't forget that if you have not clicked that subscribe button, this is a great time to do that. And if you have not yet smashed that like button, please do so. It really helps my channel. Also, if you want to get any of my free handouts, go ahead and go to teachercatalina.com. There's a lot for you to get there. Muchas gracias y adios.